Yes, Fortune. Good afternoon. We're starting now. All right, guys. Welcome to today's class, and I hope everyone is doing very well. Please, send a message in the chat box if you can hear me, so we can start. Okay, great, great. So, welcome everyone. Today we are going to be understanding what jargon in technical writing is and how to use it properly. Also, we'll be looking at passive and active voices in technical writing and also how to use them properly. So, what is jargon? Jargon can be defined as specialized terminology and language that is specific to a particular field or profession. So, they're like things that you expect your readers to understand if they are like seasoned professionals, right? So, um, the fact that technical writers are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that information is not only accurate but also comprehensible makes jargon a double-edged sword, right? So it can alter your writing and it can make it better depending on how you use jargon in your writing. So when used correctly, it can enhance clarity and precision, but when used incorrectly, it can confuse and alienate the audience, right? So some of the benefits of using jargon in technical writing. Uh, First one is clarity and precision. So jargon allows you to convey complex ideas and concepts concisely, as it acts as shorthand that is readily understood by those familiar with the field, reducing the need for lengthy explanation, right? So if you know that your audience are people that know a lot about what you're writing about or some things about what you're writing about, jargon can allow you to like move faster in your writing. You can write things without a lot of explanation of what um, every concept mean and all of that. So you can describe things precisely, like this is it and that's it, because you know that they understand and you can use the language, right? So the next one is efficiency. Jargon can significantly improve the efficiency of technical communication because rather than using long descriptive phrases, you can use specialized terminology and convey information quickly and accurately. For example, you don't need to explain what authentication or authorization means or even the differences between them when you're writing for professional developers, right? So that makes you more efficient because you can write faster and get your point across easily without a lot of explanation or description of what you mean. So the other one is, and the last one is professionalism. So the use of jargon in technical writing can convey professionalism and expertise because it signals to your audience that you are well versed in the subject matter and understand the nuances of the fields, right? Instead of describing what, for example, the previous example of authorization and authentication, when you just like put it there without explaining, they know that okay, this person knows that this is the right word to use for this. Instead of explaining that when you log in or when you log out, they already know that logging in and logging out just means authenticating the user, right? So if you use such words, it shows that okay, this person is an expert in this field, and I can read what they write and use it without like getting confused or something. So next, we are going to look at the disadvantages of using jargon in technical writing. So as I said before, it's a double-edged sword and can hurt your writing, right? So one of the disadvantages is alienating non-experts. So this is like the most significant pitfall of excessive jargon use, because it can alienate non-expert readers, because if they don't have a deep understanding of the industry or the concept you're writing about, right, or the underlying concept, the fundamentals of what you're writing about, they probably don't understand like the specialized terminologies that you're going to be using, which will cause them to struggle to comprehend what you write, right? So just use them when you like understand your users. We're going to learn more about that later. So the next one is miscommunication. So jargon can be a source of miscommunication when used incorrectly or imprecisely, because different fields or subfields may use the same term with slightly different meanings. So you might write something, and if the jargon can mean like a lot of things in that same field, you might want to like explain or not use it at all, right? Just use simple English when you know that that particular word or sentence can be interpreted in a lot of ways. Just use normal English to explain what you're trying to get across to the readers, right? So to avoid miscommunication, you have to be careful when using jargon in your writing. So the next one is overcomplication. In some cases, technical writers rely too heavily on jargon, even when simpler language would suffice, right? So if you can use, again, if you can use like simple English to get your point across easily, eliminate the jargon and use simple English instead. So it can lead to overcomplication and make it difficult for readers to follow, right? So it is essential to strike a balance between precision and simplicity, right? So the next one is inaccessibility. Excessive jargon can make technical documents inaccessible to a broader audience, right? Again, jargon are like for those that understand the industry or the fundamentals of what you're trying to talk about in your writing, right? So inaccessibility is a concern, especially when the information is meant to be disseminated widely or when it involves critical public safety information, right? If you're writing about things that like everyone, regardless of their expertise in the field, has to know, you need to keep your language as simple as possible, right? Someone asked a question last week about how do you know when to like write, how do you write for write documents that cater to like a lot of people, like beginners, intermediate, and experts. Like this is how to do it. You don't use excessive jargon in cases like that, because they are meant for like a broader range of audience. A lot of people. Just a quick check. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So in this case, just remove all the jargon or specialized terminologies or concepts that you are putting in your writing, and just use simple English for your writing to be accessible, right? So next, we're going to see like tips and strategies for effective use of jargon in your writing. So the first one is knowing your audience. I mentioned this earlier, right? So the first step in using jargon effectively is understanding your audience. So you have to consider the level of expertise and familiarity with the subject matter. So you can tailor your use of jargon to match the audience knowledge and needs, right? So if you're writing for like intermediate developers, you know that there are some things that they already know and there are some things that they don't know yet. So anything you feel like, okay, intermediate developers don't, like they are not yet on this level, explain the concept in simple English, but things that you know that are like for beginner developers, you can just write them in the specialized language and you are sure that they will be able to understand. Again, know your audience, know who you are writing for. If you're writing for, the tip is that if you're writing for intermediate developers, write everything you know that they can know. Like everything you know that beginners understand are the things you should use jargon for. Write all the jargons that you know that beginners should be able to understand this. But when you get to the level of even intermediate developers, you should explain every concept. So because it's like a wide range of language, right? Some intermediate developers don't know the difference between authentication and authorization yet. So you have to like explain such terms and how you are using them before continuing your writing. So they know that, okay, this is what this person means. And even if they know what the jargon means before, they cannot be offended because you are just making sure that they understand what you're talking about. So the first step is know your audience, right? So the next one is define jargon when necessary. So when using jargon in your writing, try as much as possible to provide clear, concise definitions, right? So it helps the gap for readers who may not be familiar with the terminology. Notice the word may, they may not be familiar. So just do your best to define jargon when you think it is necessary to do so, right? And you can, if it is a very like a proper documentation and it's not an article, you can include a glossary like we discussed in the last class. Include a glossary for or footnotes for reference, right? So they can just go there to understand what you're trying to talk about and come back to what you're writing. So use jargon consistently. This is another case. So for terms that you know that like there are two or more terms that mean the same thing, just choose one of them and go with that, right? Be consistent in your use of jargon throughout the document and use terminology that you know that this is widely accepted within the field. Like, okay, everyone agrees on this particular term. So just use that one and leave other terms that might mean the same thing or actually mean the same thing, right? This consistency promotes clarity and precision. So the next one is striking balance. So yeah, you need to know how to balance jargon with plain language. So remember, jargon is like used to make your writing short in the sense that you don't have to like explain a lot of things when you know that your audience already understand. But you also need to strike a balance because if you write like everything in terms that you know that only experts can understand, does not make a lot of sense, right? So you just need to like use a little bit of jargon and a little bit of plain language so everyone can be able to use your document properly. So whenever possible, opt for simpler everyday language to explain complex ideas, right? So also you can consider the context. So the context in which jargon is used matters a lot. In some sections of a document, such as the introduction or executive summary, it may be necessary to minimize jargon to make the content more accessible. Like if I start reading an article and I see that, okay, even the introduction, reading the introduction alone, I'm already lost. I'm just going to close it. Like this is way above my level. Then I'll go look for something that works for me, right? So from the summary or the introduction, you should like use simple language. So even those that, for example, a developer might be going through like a lot of problems in their job, and they reach out to a senior developer to help them. So the senior might feel that like, okay, let me look for like an article that explains this concept and give to the person. So if I'm like that senior developer, I'm going to read like before giving it to the junior developer, because so I don't confuse them further with the resource I'm giving to them, right? So when I read the introduction, I already know that, okay, this is a good fit for the person I'm sending to or not. So people can already determine that, okay, I can understand this person from just your introduction. Because if I read like 6 or 10 terms that I don't understand immediately, I just don't use the article. So I look for something simpler that I know that I can understand. So the next one, okay, the last one is to review and edit carefully. So review your technical writing carefully. Keep an eye out of excessive or unnecessary jargon. So you can correct them or simplify them further, right? So you should also consider seeking feedback from colleagues or experts in the field to ensure that your use of terminology is accurate and appropriate, right? So that is that for strategies for using jargon effectively. So the next section is using passive and active voices in technical writing. What's on my slides today? Yeah, so first we look at active voice. So in the active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action described by the verb, right? So this structure usually follows the pattern subject plus verb plus object. So a good example of that is the engineer, which is the subject, designed, which is the verb, the new software, which is the object. Notice that this follows subject, verb, object. So in this active sentence, it is clear that the engineer is the one who performed the action of designing the software. So immediately you already know that the engineer designed the software. So there's no confusion on who designed this software or who did this action, right? So in passive voice, the subject receives the action described by the verb. So generally it follows the pattern of objects coming first, then verb second, then subject. And in many cases, subjects in passive voice are usually optional. So most times you don't even know who did the action, right? So an example of that is the new software was designed by the engineer. This uses the subject in the sentence. You can say things the new software was designed, and that will help. No engineer, no subject, nothing, right? So in passive voice, the software is the focus, or the subject is the focus of the sentence, and the engineer's role is secondary. By the engineer portion is optional and can be omitted if the actor is not important or known. So if you don't know who designed the software, you can use passive voice to just say the software was designed. That will be all. So benefits of using active voice in technical writing. So the first benefit of using active voice in technical writing is clarity. So as you saw earlier, the first active voice sentence was very, very clear on who did the action, what the action was, and Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we can.
Yeah, thanks. So clarity. Active voice provides clarity by making it explicit who is performing the action, right? The subject and the object are equally important when using active voice, right? You need to show who did the action and what the action was, right? So it eliminates ambiguity and helps reader quickly understand the subject's role in the sentence. Because in technical documents, clarity is paramount to ensure that the information is easily comprehensible. For example, writing the researcher conducted the experiment is better than the experiment was conducted, because you need to be clear enough for your readers to understand that, okay, the experiment was conducted by who or when or whatever is important. You need to like state it. So the researcher conducted the experiment is usually better when writing technical documents, because you need to make sure that the reader is understanding what you're writing by making every detail clear, right? So in this example, it is evident that the researcher conducted the experiment, whereas the passive voice sentence leaves the actor unclear. Yeah, so active voice makes your writing way, way clearer than when you use passive voice. Okay, thanks, Jennifer. So another benefit of using active voice is conciseness, right? So active voice often results in more concise sentences, as it eliminates the need for passive constructions such as was, where, plus the past participle. For example, in active voice, the team fixed the bug. The team fixed the bug, and that was it. You already know who fixed the bug and what the team did in just 5 words. However, in passive voice, you say the bug was fixed by the team. Notice that the passive voice sentence is like a little bit longer than the active voice sentence. So the active voice sentence is more concise and direct, making it a better choice when brevity is essential in technical writing. So benefits of using passive voice. So passive voice is not always bad, right? You need to use them in some cases. So some of the benefits they give include when you need to emphasize the object or the result. So passive voice can be useful when the focus of the sentence is on the object or result of an action rather than the actor, right? So in cases where the person who did the action is not important or is not known, you can use passive voice. For example, this is common in scientific writing, where the emphasis on the findings or observations and results of experiments are much more important than the individuals conducting the research, right? So an example of that is the new element was discovered in the lab. Instead of using the active voice that says the researchers discovered the new element in the lab, right? So the people who discovered the researchers might not be important in this case. Like, for example, when the results of a particular research has to be released to the general public, like for global use in most cases, right? You don't need to like mention the researchers or people who did the action. You just need to make it like clear that, okay, the new element was discovered in the lab, and that's it. So in cases like this, that the action and the object is more important than the subject, you can use passive voices, right? So in the passive voice sentence, in this example, the emphasis is on the new element, which may be more relevant to the context of a scientific paper. Yeah. So in cases when you need to avoid blame or responsibility, you can use passive voice to be diplomatic when discussing sensitive or potentially controversial topics. It allows you to present information without explicitly blaming or assigning responsibility. For example, you can say mistakes were made during the project, and that will be it. Instead of like selling the team out by saying the team made mistakes during the project, right? So in cases when you want to avoid blame or responsibility, you can use passive voices. This is very useful in cases where, especially when you want to like talk about like failures of a particular company or a particular team. You just don't sell them out by saying, oh, the design team made so and so mistake in their job. It's not usually very, very nice, right? So this can be used in when you are writing reports. So you can just like remove that part to like keep them safe or just protect them, right? So in the passive voice sentence in this example, the focus is on the mistakes rather than singling out the team members responsible, which might be more appropriate in certain contexts, right? So those are the two main benefits of passive voice in technical writing. So let's go at some reasons why you should avoid using passive voice in technical writing. So ambiguity. Overusing passive voice can lead to ambiguity in the sense that without a clear actor in the sentence, readers may struggle to determine who is responsible for the action, right? So always prioritize clarity by using active voice in technical writing. The other one is overcomplication. While passive voice can be appropriate in some cases, it can lead to unnecessarily complex sentences. So you should avoid passive constructions when simpler active voice sentences would suffice. So hiding responsibility. In situations where accountability is essential and important, using passive voice to avoid assigning blame can be problematic. I mentioned earlier that maybe you want to write a report to the major stakeholders in your company and you might want to omit the team that made mistakes or something that caused problems. So this might be problematic in some cases. They might send it back that, okay, who are those people that made those errors, right? So technical writing should not obscure important details, especially when it comes to errors or failures, right? So when you don't want to hide responsibility, use active voice instead of passive voice. So disconnected information, be cautious when using passive voice in sequences of actions or events, because it can lead to fragmented narrative that makes it harder for readers to follow the logical flow of information. So when you are like narrating how to build a certain thing in your writing, you should always make it like important to mention who should do a particular action, right? Should the reader perform the action? Is the action already done by default? So always make it clear who is performing which action, so they are not just lost at some point that, okay, am I supposed to like do this, or I should just leave it out, right? So using passive voice might cause you to give out disconnected information in your writing, and you don't want to do that in most cases, especially in technical writing. So someone asked a question the last time on Monday about how to use strong verbs in technical writing, and I felt it would be nice to add some examples of that in this slide. So when you say something like the data collection process was done carefully, right? So if you have any question at this point, you can drop them in the chat box. So if you have any question about what we said before from the previous classes or anything, any question you have, basically just drop them in the chat box, right? So in this case, the data collection process was done carefully and with great precision. Is a case, this sentence contains weak verbs as opposed to strong verbs, in the sense that the strong sentence would look like this: the data collection process was executed meticulously. See that this is shorter and shows what's happened. It was executed meticulously. So that's like a good example of strong verbs and weak verbs, because weak verbs make you write lengthy sentences most times. So another example. So in this example, right, the carefully and with great precision are adverbs that described how the data collection process was performed, right? So in the strong verb, executed conveys the same idea more directly, while eliminating the need for the with great precision or carefully adverbs, right? So strong verbs are like better in most cases. Another example of that is the software operates slowly and with a considerable degree of lag, right? This is like way longer than the strong verb usage, which just says that the software operates sluggishly. It operates slowly with a considerable degree of lag is like way too long and just takes more time to process in your reader's brain. But if you say this software operates sluggishly, or you can even use slowly, it's like shows that the software is sluggish. So slowly and with a considerable degree of lag are adverbs and adjectives that describe the software's performance, while the strong verb, which is operates sluggishly, conveys the same information more effectively and while eliminating the need for these modifiers, which are slowly with a considerable degree of lag, just way too long and might confuse your readers, right? So some people might not even understand what a considerable degree of lag means or what it is. So just say it operates sluggishly and move on to the next thing. So another one is the experiment was conducted in a very controlled and systematic manner, while the strong one will be the experiment was conducted methodically. So in the first sentence, in a very controlled and systematic manner, uses adjectives and adverbs to describe how the experiment was conducted, while in the strong verb sentence, conducted methodically encapsulates this description more succinctly and clearly. So this strong verb usage is much better in this case because it conveys the whole point in just 5 words instead of this is like 10 words or so, right? So these are like the main examples of when you should use and how to use strong verbs instead of a lot of adjectives and adverbs in your writing. So that will be all for today's class. Okay, so no one has questions. Great. So that means have been very clear and the information is comprehensible. Great. So I think this is the point where we drop the attendance. So let me check for that and share it. So while we wait for the attendance link, I'm still waiting. If you have any question for me, okay. So the attendance link has been dropped in the chat box. So you can just fill it up. No, today's class is not 30 minutes. So the thing is, the classes are not like meant to last a particular number of hours or minutes. Right? Yes, yes. I said I was going to drop something for us to discuss today, but I'm still working on how it will look like and all. And I felt compelled to like teach more on passive voices and active voices before doing dropping the exercise, right? So you are going to get tasks to do by Friday. So I'm so sorry about that. I'll drop that by Friday and we'll discuss it on Monday, right? So I just felt the need to like clear the whole passive voice, active voice, and everything because you guys had like questions and I felt, okay, let me explain these concepts and fundamentals before moving on to giving out tasks. So to what I was saying earlier, the classes are not like to last hours. For example, if you guys have had questions now, we would tackle those questions and till like 5 p.m. But you guys don't have any questions and I'm already done with everything I wanted to share with you guys today. So it's just 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right? 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the sense that once we are done before 5 p.m., we can round up, but at most, it's just 5 p.m. So I hope that is clear now. So we can even be done in 20 minutes sometimes. So, and another thing, another reason why I don't feel the need to like take a lot of your time is that the slides are there and you can always reach out to me for questions. So once I give you the slides, you can go through them and just, you can even understand better than I've explained from reading the slides by yourself. So, I know, as always, if you have any question, you can always reach out to me, right? So I hope that is clear now. So I'm sending the slides today. I'll send them today. I'm just going to touch on some things and just drop the PDF version. So as always, I'll say again, if you have any questions after going through the slides or even doing your own research and you need clarification, you can always send me a message. So today's class lasted 44 minutes or 35 minutes, right? So you have more time on your hands to. Can you guys hear me? Okay, let me even see if. And also the recordings are available on YouTube or will be available today or tomorrow. So yes. So let's see. Let's see. Yes, another thing I would like to mention is after the. Thank you so much, Mr. Okoro Anointing. Thank you so much for that. So I will drop a message for you to like if like you have any suggestions And also, I would like your input on, are the slides like okay in PDF format, or you want the Google Slides version? Because I noticed that I've been sending them in PDF format instead of the link. So you can drop a message if you want the slides format instead of the PDF. So because that's also available. Okay. The PDF is okay, right? Great. So please drop a message if you filled up the attendance form so we can round up. The PDF is okay, great. Okay, the PDF is okay. All right, great. So the PDF format is okay. So Elizabeth also said it's okay. Okay, nice. Sumachi Fortune, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so this is your first time joining us.
Yeah, actually, because like I said, I have to go to work and stuff.
Okay, great. I didn't know about the attendance before. That was why I was not able to give you that information. So I'm sorry about that.
It's
Also,
fine.
yeah, great. Also, we do like a little bit of introduction, everyone. So you can tell us about what you do, your experience, why you joined this class, or anything you can share with us before we round up.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Fortune. Yeah. And I studied marketing from Yabatech actually, and I've taken several digital marketing courses, Google courses on digital marketing, and I'm taking this course because I want to enhance my skills in copywriting, email marketing, and all of that basically. So that's it, yeah.
Okay. Give us one random fact about you.
Random fact about me. I like money.
Great. That's beautiful. That's like, I think that's not even a random fact. It's an actual
Yeah, it's
fact.
a natural fact. The random fact is I like to sleep. I sleep a lot for someone that like money. So
For someone that likes
yeah,
that, you can also sleep for money in some cases.
yeah. I wish so. I wish so.
I believe there's a competition for that, so you should check that out. Okay, thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that about yourself, and thank you so much for joining us today. But I hope the issue of attendance is sorted with iShat.
Yeah, so I'll try to join the live classes I can join, and for the ones I can join, I'll go through them and I'll reach out to her, like she
You
said.
also get Okay, yeah, you're also getting the PDF.
Yeah, I am
Right.
getting it, and I actually think I prefer to read at my own pace and understand better.
Yes, that's the whole point of the slides, sharing the slides. So thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to you joining us more
Thank
and
you.
reading. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us today, and that's the end of today's class. Bye. Enjoy the rest of the day.